Hello everyone. Can you all hear my voice? It's okay. Okay. This is our, I think, first day of the lecture about early Buddhism, because Monday is just the introduction. So from today, I'm going to teach, what early Buddhism is and how Buddhism began. So usually as a start, I usually talk about language and script. So we all Korean people knows that King Sejong, Sejongdaewang invented Hangul. Is it language or script? Anybody answer in our chatting chat? Is it Hangul language or script? 한글은 언어입니까? 문자입니까? uh, it is script. Script. It's not the language. Language is Korean. Korean, we Korean people have been talking for long time. So what was invented by King Sejong was actually script. So if you go to India, there are so many scripts. We have Devanagari script, we have Shittam script, we have Brahmi script, we also have Karoshuti, we also have Northwestern, binocular, and so on. So language script is one part, because if there was no Indian script, we cannot access to the thinking of ancient people. So inventing of the script is very important. Korea is very late, but India is very early. I feel like around 400 before Common Era is almost already there in Mesopotamia, current day Iran and Iraq. And in India, northwestern India, I think around 400 before Common Era. So that's the script. But the more important thing we should remember is language. Language, we can't do it. So I was born in Busan. So I was raised up in Busan area. So naturally, I speak southeastern dialect called the Gyeongsangdo Saturi, or Busan Ben, or something like that. Language is just something continue to change. Language is just something continue to develop. So when we think about situation in India, it's very interesting because India in the current days, when you check, no, I can't make it bigger. When you think about India, maybe it's very small. Sorry, I will make it big. When you think about India, can you see this map? Everyone can see this map. So when you think about India, you can see here, this yellow part, you can see, is people speaking Indo-Aryan language. And this yellow part, no, it's a red part. Yellow red part, this area, people speaking Tibetan Burmese language. And this kind of a blue part, people speak, we usually call it as Southern Indian language, or how can I say, Dravidian language. So when you see the India, this kind of format, it's very strange. Mainly because This Tibeto-Burmese language group, that's totally different language from Indo-Aryan language. So maybe when you were in a high school, maybe you heard about, you know, maybe I can write down. Maybe you heard about something like, no, not good. This is not good. You may heard about, where is it? Not this one. You may heard about language family. So language family. So Korean language belongs to Ural Altai language family, and the Indian language, among the oldest one, we call it as a Sanskrit. Sanskrit, I have to say, is one of the how can I say, Indo-European languages. Indo-European languages. Oh, I found it here. So here I put it, the handout I distributed to you, and the language family. When we think about very big picture, language used in Europe, including India. So from India to maybe Ireland in UK, altogether become Indo-European language family, and from India to South Korea, to Japan, we usually call those language group as Ural Altai language family. So it's a totally different language group. So when we think about situation in India, two different language group already you can see, and also this southern part and some of the northwestern part, Dravidian language, which is also totally different from the two. So three different language group coexist each other in India. So many people wonder what this kind of language distribution mean in terms of the development of Indian language on there. And one of the conclusion was that these people, yellowish people who speak Indo-European or Indo-Aryan language, cannot be the indigenous people, original people living in India. So original people maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago in India, they speak Dravidian or they speak Tibeto-Burmese language. But somehow, at some point, people speaking Indo-Aryan language. So Indo-Aryan is a part of Indo-European language family. Somehow, those people entering into the India, and then they become very stronger and stronger, and then their language, Sanskrit, become a standard language for the people living in Indian continent. So that's the one of the way we can explain this kind of a language distribution. So maybe I can write down maybe MS Word. Where is MS Word? 못 찾겠다. Sorry. Microsoft. 안 되겠다. So when we think about Indo-Aryan language group, you can see here. Sorry. So when we think about Indo-European language group, you can see this kind of language development. I'm not sure, and everyone not sure where the people who speak Indo-European language started. Nobody knows. But in the current situation, when we checked it, you can see some very big German language group, and you can see some very big Slovenic language group, and also you can see very big Indo-Iranian and Greek language group, and also you can see a Roman or Celtic, that kind of a development you can see when the language developed. So many scholars wondered how that kind of a thing occurred, and one of the answer was that the original people who first speak Indo-European language maybe stayed somewhere between Black Sea and Caspian Sea. It's a northern part of Turkey and Iraq. Armenia might be the current place we may guess. And then people somehow starting to move from there. Some of them from there to Anatolia in Turkey, and then they closed, that channel, and then go to the Balkan Peninsula and then to the Europe. And the other group, maybe they move through the Normandic area of Asian or Eurasian continent, and then they move to from north to the European countries, and then some of them from here to go to the Iran, and then some of them to go to the India. So this group, when they enter, they become kind of ancestor of Indian people who speak Indo-European language or Sanskrit. So those people, when they move from there to Turkey and to Iran and to India, they are very close. So you can see here in the language developing group, you can see here some of them become Greek speaking people, and some of them not to go to the Greece, some of them go to the Iran, and then they become Old Iranian. Old Iranian means you remember what's the oldest religion in Iran? It's a Zoroastrian religion. In India, we call it as a Parsi, or in Chinese, Behwagyo. So people who are venerating fire. So fire can change everything. Fire can purify everything. Fire has got the power to change everything. So that's the main idea of Zoroastrian religion. And oldest text of Zoroastrian religion, we call it as Avesta. So Avesta, you can see oldest language of people, nowadays who become Iran. That language, we usually call it as Avestan or Old Persian. So they become one group. And some of them, maybe they don't like Iran and they want to go further. And people who wants to go further, entering into the India, and they become Sanskrit speaking people. So when I was at Oxford University, I translate some of the oldest Indian text. Oldest one, I mean, Rig Veda or Brahmana or sometimes Aranyaka or Upanishad. Maybe one of the oldest one. So those texts, we call it as a Vedic Sanskrit text. So Vedic Sanskrit text, very difficult to understand, very difficult to translate. So when I try to find some word in the Rig Veda, I can't find it in Indian dictionary. Then I go to my supervisor, Richard Gombrich, and the Gombrich usually said to me that, Mr. Huang, you should go to the library of Indian Institute one corner over there, you will find a very old lady, very nice lady, and she is a specialist in Avesta. She is a specialist in Persian language. So you should ask about it to her, and she might well give you answer. So I usually go to the Indian Institute library, and I can easily find out her and ask about it. And she, as soon as she saw the word I compounded in Indian dictionary, she said to me that, oh, this is a Persian. So in the old days, Persian word, coincide with the early Sanskrit word. So it was not listed in Monier Williams' Sanskrit English dictionary because this word looks like a Persian. So you are right place to come to me to ask about it. So she explained it. So that actually suggests that before people entering into India, they stay together in Iran. Maybe they compile together some Avestan or some oldest, oldest text in Iran. Maybe they do together, I think. But somehow they move into the India, but they still have a memory. One other thing which is very interesting was that, we have a very close relationship between Indic language and the Greek language. So I haven't studied any Greek, but both languages link together very tightly. So in terms of grammar, 60 or 70% are the same. And in terms of the root of the verb, 어근, 동사의 어근, almost 80% they share. So some of the sentence in Homeros, one of the oldest, Greek epic, I can understand what is going on there. So when I had a study early Greek language with some of my colleagues in Sogang University, and they show some kind of sentence, and I just translated it, and then they become very surprised. How do you understand this sentence? I said to them that this is almost the same in the Sanskrit. So, Sanskrit is not the language people originally speak when they were in between Black Sea and Caspian Sea, but Sanskrit somehow, because of the language of the religion, Indian religion, preserve the oldest form of the language. So I usually said to my student that Sanskrit, when we saw Sanskrit used in Vedic text, is a language of Bronze Age era, not the contemporary language. Because for Indian people, Sanskrit cannot be the language developed by human beings. It was language of God or language of heavenly beings. So they try to preserve the Sanskrit language as it is. They are not going to change it. So there are many European languages, but Sanskrit, one of the Indo-European language, preserve one of the oldest form. So if you want to study language, the starting point you should do is just Sanskrit because it preserve among the oldest form. There are some older one, for example, Assyrian, or there are some older form in Anatolia. But Sanskrit, I have to say, one of the oldest one. So these people who speak Sanskrit eventually entering into the India. So we wonder when that happened. We all think about that, and our conclusion was that it occurred around 1,700 before Common Era, because maybe you remember, in this northwestern part of the India, there was ancient civilization. Anybody knows what was it? We call it as a Indus Valley civilization. You remember Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization, as we understand, is a highly developed, culture. Highly developed culture. And you heard about the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro along the river Indus. Nowadays, both city, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, belong not to India, but to Pakistan. But the name of the country, India, actually comes from this river, Indus River. So it's a very strange situation in India. But these two cities, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, were the center of Indus Valley civilization, and they, spread along this greenish area. This green area means Indus Valley area, Indus Valley river area. So people usually live along with the river. Otherwise, it's all deserted. Rajasthan desert, terrible place you should go. You can go. So they usually live along with this, riverside. And here in the center, as I show you here, nowadays there are 5 rivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in Sanskrit, 5 in Sanskrit is pancha. Pancha means number 5. So pancha in nowadays North Indian dialect, Punjab means pancha. So this is called the area where there is a 5 rivers. That's the Punjab, in one of the biggest states in India. And this Punjab, separated. Some part belongs to Pakistan, some part belongs to India, so they fight each other. So this is Punjab, and also we have this black line. Black line is, how can I say, the country border between India and Pakistan. But there are some other area very close, but there are place where there must be the ancient river bed. I might put it here, not here. Ancient river bed. So according to Indian people, there was one more river, and this river we usually call it as a Saraswati river. But somehow this river disappeared due to the climate change. So before 2000 common era, 2000 before common era, there were more rainfall in this northwestern part of the India. So two river, deliver enough water, and with that water, Indus Valley civilization flourished. So they built huge cities. Sorry, it's very small. They built huge cities. This is Mohenjo-daro along the Indus Valley area. It's a mega city when we think about 2500 before Common Era. This is a mega city. And they also have some religious building. For example, many of the Indus Valley civilization archaeological site, we found this. This is a very big water tank. So whenever you go to India, you go to the Muslim temple, you go to the Hindu temple. In front of there, usually have this kind of a water tank where people clean their body before enter. So if I am going into the Hindu temple, I should remove my shoes first, and I clean my feet, before entering Hindu temple. So bare feet, without having any socks or shoes, I enter into there with a bare feet. So India and Southeast Asia, this is a kind of custom, right behavior to show our respect to the God our respect to the king, our respect to the elderly people in the family. So this kind of water tank all around the Indus River civilization. So this idea is linked to the current Indian people, where they think while we are living in the world, we do some good things and some bad things. So when we do the better things, that become like a dust and attached to our body, attached to our body. So how to remove our bad behavior? By clean our body with the holy water. So this is a kind of idea, holy water. So clean up their body. So when you go to the Varanasi in India, people clean their body. They believe if they clean their body with the holy water of Varanasi, all the dust of bad karma all disappear. So that kind of idea already there, I think, in Indus Valley civilization. So it's a highly developed culture, and one of the very small toe discovered in, I think it's Harappa, one of the Indus Valley river city, actually show a very special picture of Indus Valley people. So you can see here, these people, this one, have a, how can I say, kind of a crown on his head. It's cut from behind, but you can see here, he has got very nice crown, which show he has got power in politics. So administrative power he has got. So he got something on here. In Korea, we have a crown there. Queens of England has got very nice crown, and so on. So this is a kind of crown. But interestingly, as you can, this is the front. So this one, in forehead you can see the crown. India, that's the usually a symbol of a kingship. If you put something on here, so this is a symbol of kingship. And then you saw the dress he actually wear. He actually show one shoulder covered, the other shoulder open. So think about Buddhist monk. We call it as a gasha, gasa or something like that. They have only one shoulder covered, the other shoulder open. So this one actually show he is a religious people. So in the Valley civilization, as we understand from this small toe, is the society where political leader is the same as a religious leader. So it's a kind of a religious society, and they develop their own civilization, and they do how can I say, international trade with the Mesopotamia. So in this area, in older days, they have so many crops, and they export to Mesopotamia area, and they import some of the clothes and so on, and textile and so on. I'm not sure exactly what kind of thing they have exchanged. So we have a very nice, highly developed city culture already there in India, but somehow that Indus Valley civilization suddenly disappear, totally disappear. And we think of this situation as a kind of, how can I say, climate change. So the rainfall reduced dramatically. So they no longer have enough food to produce from that area, and somehow they gave up. So in India, around 1700 before Common Era, to 1200 common era, people moving. What I mean was that before the year 2000, before common era, people living here along with the Indus River area. So that's the center of Indian population. But somehow, from around 1700 before common era to 1000 before common era, people moving from here to here. So nowadays, the center of Indian people no longer there. Center of Indian people living along with the Ganges River valley area. And this Ganges River, this is not just the river. According to the Indian people, Ganges River is a Ganga. Ganga is like a god. So they usually said Mother Ganga River. So Ganga River is like their spirit, their god, and their symbol of Indian culture and so on. So they actually move from there to here. So this Ganges River Valley area, together with the Indus River Valley, where there is 5 rivers. Punjab, I said to you before. From this area, around 1,500 people common era, new people starting to appear. New people. Those new people, I have to say, Sanskrit-speaking people entering into the India from the northwestern part. India is very big, as you understand. India, I have to say, is a very big country, something like, it's an Indian continent. I'm not really good at, writing. Sorry. Very big country, but very nice. This northeastern part, people cannot enter into India because we have, how can I say? Not easy. Tibet is there. And India, Hima means snow. Laya means area. So area of snow means Himalaya. So very big and very high Himalaya mountain, cover here. So people cannot enter India from this northeastern side into the India. And also, people cannot enter into the India from this northwestern side because this area was called the Iranian Plateau. Iranian Plateau, we usually call that place as a no man's land because there is no, how can I say, drinkable water. So when you think about who was it? Alexander. He actually entered into the India from this northwestern part to the Indian continent, and he fight. And finally, his soldiers refused to fight anymore. So Alexander wants to go back. But the area Alexander entered into the India in this small pocket between Himalaya or Tibetan Plateau and the Iranian Plateau is a high mountainous area. So we usually call this area where there is a Pamir high plateau, Pamir Gowan. And also when you pass the Pamir high plateau, you are ended up with Afghanistan. So there was a war between America and Afghanistan, war between America and Taliban and so on. When you saw, it's a huge mountainous area. So they should go across all those high mountainous area, then they can enter into the Indian plateau. So Alexander do not want to go back with this high mountainous area. So he go back through here, northwestern side through the Iranian plateau and then to the Persia, Baghdad or Suja, where he conquered, Persepolis and so on. But on this way, they can't found any water. So almost all the people who were together with Alexander entering into the India, they all die here. They all die here, which means civilization or people cannot enter into the India. So the only way people can enter is this from northwestern side into India. So India is almost like an island, and where there is only one bridge between Tibetan plateau and Iranian plateau. You should remember. So around 1,700 people common era because of the climate change. You know, this northwestern area no longer become nice place for living. So people who construct, who develop Indus River Valley civilization, starting to move from west to the east to Ganges River Valley area. And on the way they go, new people starting to enter into the India. Those people, Sanskrit, digitize. I think I should buy digitize. They speak Sanskrit, which means Indo-European language. So this is for the first time Indo-European language transmitted into India. So people who speak Sanskrit, I have to say, they are religious people, and they have a very high knowledge of God. They do perform sacrifice. I don't think they are in large number fighting each other. I think they are religious people, and who has got their pride in their own language. So preserving their language and their religion might be very important. So their religion and their language mixed with those people in Indus River Valley area, and then they step by step settle down into this Punjab area, and then one by one going down through the Ganges River Valley area. So as they move from Punjab to lower part of the Ganges River Valley area, they develop their own text. I mean the holy text, their own holy text. So their holy text, we usually call it, what was it, as a Vedic literature. Vedic literature. Vedic literature. Oh, where is my handout? Here. They develop one by one their own literature. Nothing called Vedic literature. Not here. So next time I'll be more organized. This time, first time I'm giving a lecture, not really organized. Sorry for that. Now where is my OneNote? I just stopped there. So they start to develop their own holy text. How can I? Yeah, maybe holy text, their own holy text. The holy text, we usually call it as something, oh, this way, not this. How can I type? Use different one. Okay, I finally sorted out. This one is working. Making big. 어때? Sanskrit. Okay, make it big. 확대하기. Control plus. Okay. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, Sanskrit-speaking people entering. You can see the character. You can see. I think you can see. More bigger. Sanskrit-speaking people enter into the India. They met people moving from the west to east, from Indus River area to Ganges River area. So they mixed together. So when they mixed together, those people who speak Sanskrit try to preserve their own culture and their own religion. So they start to develop their own literary tradition. So the first kind of text they developed was Veda. We call it as Veda. So Veda is a kind of hymns dedicated to natural pose. So when there was rain, Indian people thought God Indra became very upset. So he gave us rain. Just like Greek people, God Zeus became very upset. He gave us a thunderbolt, something like that. So God Indra or God Agni, God of fire, God Rudra, and so on. So the first text they developed, we call it as Veda. And then they step by step move from northwestern part into the Ganges River Valley area. They feel like they should preserve their own, sacrificial tradition. So they start to explain how to perform sacrifice, how to venerate God. So where should they put the fire? How they offer water? How they offer some blood or blood from the chicken or blood from sheep or something like that. So that literature was called Brahmanas. So that's the second kind of literature Sanskrit-speaking people starting to produce. And then finally, they reach new areas. What I mean was that those in the River Valley area, apart from near the river, it's all deserted. It's a desert area, no man's land. But when they move into this Ganges River Valley area, for the first time they saw forest. Forest means so many trees. So India, it's very hot, very hot and very humid. So life is suffering. It's very hard and dust and everything give you painful. But when they moving into this area, they saw forest. When they enter into the forest, there was how can I chilly wind inside. The forest, the thick forest. Protect that area from the sunshine. So when they enter into the forest, it's like entering into the air-conditioned room during the summer. It's a nice place to live, nice place to stay. So Indian people, when they move here, they started to entering into the forest. They built their own hermitage. So nowadays, those hermitage tradition become ashram tradition in India. So ashram is the place where they do meditate. Ashram is the place where they do study the knowledge of ancestors. Ashram is the place where they think about what is life. They think about how to live a life. How can we become the better person and so on. So those forests become center of how can I say their study place. So here it become Aranya. Aranya means a big forest in Sanskrit. So Aranyakas. So text developed from the forest, which is Aranyaka. So Aranyaka talk about their deep thinking, into the life of human beings. Their deep thinking into something they wants to know. So that's the Aranyakas. Slightly half religious and half philosophical. And then finally, when they reach, middle part of the Ganges River Valley area, they starting to produce philosophical text, which was called Upanishad, So one by one, they move from Punjab or northwestern India, going down through the Indus River Valley area into the southeast. They starting to develop their own oldest literary tradition. So we usually think Veda around 1000 before Common Era, Brahmana 800, Aranyaka 400, Upanishad, no. Veda around 1000 before Common Era, Brahmana 800 before Common Era, and Aranyaka and Upanishad almost simultaneously, but Aranyaka is slightly earlier, and we guess those two traditions between 600 before Common Era to 400 before Common Era. So this is how people who speak Sanskrit entering into the India and develop their own social structure and everything. So when they enter into India, they develop their own religion. We usually call it as a Brahmanism. Brahmanism is one of the oldest religion in India, and then it become mixed with the local religion, and from time to time it changed. And nowadays it become, how can I say, Hinduism. So there are so many gods. God Indra, I just show you here. And they are very similar to Zoroastrian religion. They venerate fire. So Brahmins usually have a triple fire they should venerate whole of their life. And nowadays, if you go to southern India, those Brahmanical tradition still there in southern India. North India, because of the Muslim power from around the 1000 Common Era, mostly disappear, but Brahmin tradition still alive very strongly in the southern India. And they study Sanskrit. They still venerate, put some important place according to the Vedic text. And Hindu religious leaders, you can see there, we call them as a sadhu. So many sadhus in Hindu temple if you go to India. So those are the people who speak Sanskrit, and those are the people who for the first time develop Indic religion. They have so many festivals. I'm not sure whether they can continue during this corona epidemic in India. Corona already reached India as well. So, and they also develop their own text. The language character quite great, but Indian people memorize everything, so they preserve. So this is the situation in India when people speak Indo-European language. And what the reason why I was talking about this is that current days, if you go to India, people who speak this Sanskrit, people who belongs to Indo-European language family dominate whole India, dominate Pakistan, and so on. They become a center of Indian culture. And their language, Sanskrit, still venerated, and their text and their God become the religion of people in India. But when we think about when and where Buddhism started. Buddhism started from very different setting from the people who speak this, Indo-European language, because Buddhism started here, northeastern part of the India, and how can I say, Rajgir, Wangsasan, the capital city of Magadha kingdom, or Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha become enlightened. It's all in this north eastern part of the India. So when the Buddhism developed here, those culture, Sanskrit culture, how can I say, Brahmanic culture or Hindu culture, was not a central part of the religion and culture in this southern, lower part of Ganges River. They have their own culture. I feel like, when we talk about Buddha, I'm not sure whether Buddha actually belongs to Indo-Aryan, European, because the Buddha was born in borderline between India and Nepal, and this area was called the Tarai. Tarai. Whenever you go to the Tarai, you can see diverse people, because when India become independent, so many Muslims living in the borderline between Nepal and India, they appear because Muslim could be persecuted by Hindu India. So they move from there to Nepal. So many people. So in Newa Tarai, where the Buddha was born, the Lumbini, or Tilaurakot, Kapilavastu, where the Buddha had, younger days, there are so many Muslims. But if you see very carefully, there are some indigenous people. And whenever I go to this Newa Tarai or Kathmandu area, where there are some Buddhist population, they look like Mongolian. They look like somehow Burmese, So I feel like Buddha cannot be the Sanskrit-speaking people. He might be the different kind of cultural setting he was in. So understanding old Indian language actually suggests, Buddhism was different from current day in the main India mainstream religious movement. That could be the one of the reason why Buddhism disappeared from Indian continent, and then more spread, more acceptable with the people, Asian people, maybe. Maybe that could be one of the other reason. So the setting was different. Setting was totally different. I have to say, from the thinking about religious background. So today, I just briefly talk about, how can I say, the language, and people who speak Sanskrit, or people who speak, how can I say, Indo-European language entering into the India, what kind of changes occur there. And when you think about that kind of changes and their movement from northwestern part into the eastern part of India, you can see the settings, kind of, how can I say, competition between Sanskrit-speaking people and indigenous people. And Buddhism occur from the indigenous cultural and linguistic background, while Hindu culture or Brahmanical religion develop from this, Sanskrit or European or language speaking people. So that's the kind of difference you should remember before you understand, you study early Indian Buddhism. So today I'm going to stop here. Mainly, I was talking about the language and what kind of things occur. So in our what was it? Our e-class. I put the handout already. So in early Buddhism, here I put how can I say Korean. This is a Korean version. In the Korean list, and this one is English list. So you can check this handout, and also you can study my YouTube channel where I talk about the important difference between Aryan or Indo-European speaking people and Buddhist setting. So before you came next Monday, I hope you already watching, Korean student, you all watching this poor YouTube video so that you can understand my talk easier. And also student from abroad, I recommend you to watch this in English YouTube channel where I talk about Aryan and Sanskrit speaking people in India. Then next Monday, I will talk about script, and script is another very important part we should understand. So I think I will stop here. And any question? So you can put your question in our chatting chat. Any question? Any question? 질문이 있으십니까? 질문이? Any question? Is Korean or English all okay? I can accept. 질문이 없으시면 오늘 여기까지 하겠습니다. There is no question, so everyone understand. So I stop here, and I will see you next Monday. 감사합니다.